I had shotgun shells, large shotgun shells in each engine. And I would hit the switches and all 4 engines would go off one time. And then I just call the tower and go, ready.
Welcome to 10-Minute Travels. With me, as always, is Phil Freeman.
And with me, as always, is Shane Patrick. And we are going to talk to Jon Bisson, pilot and adventurer.
Let's get right to it, shall we?
Hey, Jon, I want to introduce you to Shane Patrick, and I'll tell you a little bit of background. Shane and I met probably 25 or 7 years ago.
Something 98, like I think.
1998, 25 years ago. And we were both working at the Alaska resort at the ski rental place. So that's where we met. And Shane came up from Wisconsin to just check it out. And like many Wisconsinians, they loved Alaska and stayed for a long, long time. And then we've traveled the world together. We've been to India together. We've been to South America together on 2 wheels. We've done quite a bit of traveling, even England. Remember that one time in Isle of Man? And then Shane went on to be a ski patrolman, and then he turned out to get into helicopters. So he became a helicopter pilot, got his license over in Hawaii, and then he went over to Botswana for 2 years at one of those remote lodges. And then he came back here, and he had some gigs here, and he out on the Aleutians at Accutane as well. He was there delivering mail and stuff. And then he met a really awesome woman, and then they ended up buying an apple orchard in Maine. So Shane picked up everything, and now he lives in Maine, upstate there, and he watches apples grow, and he helps people buy property, and he does whatever he does on his farm. And there he is. I haven't seen him for a while, but we started recording these things a long, long time ago in 2020 maybe, somewhere in there, 21 maybe.
No, it was before 21, but
2020, and then we just started doing these things. So then I told him, hey, I know this guy, Jon, and I already spent a good 15 minutes explaining who you are and how we've met and where we've been in the world and the adventures that you do, pilot and adventurer.
Well, good, Phil. It looks like Shane's got something in common. All 3 of us have something in common.
So I told him that you've driven almost everything that Uncle Sam has in his fleet, and you've been all around the world, and you know the Bahamas quite well and all the islands, and that you had just recently flown up to Alaska. And I told him about your fascinating trip to Kiska. And so I'm not really sure where to start the dialogue. Maybe Shane has a question, but otherwise I'd like to hear about Kiska.
Well, let's start with Kiska, since Shane knows about the Aleutian Islands pretty well. I'm sure you do too, Phil, the Aleutians. But I was based at Aleutian Air Force Base in Alaska, and I used to fly recon planes out of Aleutian Air Force Base. But actually, we didn't fly them out of Aleutian. We're based there, and we had to go TDY, temporary duty, to Shimia in the Aleutian Islands. So I would be there 2 weeks at a time, and I lived in a hangar that had the bottom floor, the plane was in it, and the second floor, I lived in there with my quarters, and I had a barber pole from the top floor going down to the plane. So I might be up there having dinner or playing racquetball. We had racquetball courts in the hangar. Or I might be in the Air Force vehicle driving around the island looking for foxes, and also the bell would ring. And I had to run to my airplane. If I was in the hangar upstairs, I'd have to jump on my pole, go down to the airplane, and I'd be dressed up like maybe shorts, jeans, get in the jet, and my co-pilot would get in. I had 2 navigators. My electronic warfare officers would get in the plane, and then they would push us out of the hangar. And nobody usually had their uniforms on because we were doing something on the island, just playing around. And we put our uniforms, our flight suits on when we got airborne. So once they pushed us out, I had shotgun shells, large shotgun shells in each engine. And I would hit the switches, and all 4 engines would go off one time. And then I just call the tower and go, ready. Actually, we didn't say that. We'd flash the lights, like the land lights. Towers had cleared. Go down the runway, take off right for Russia. And we would do this. The name of the plane was called the Cobra Ball. COBRABALL. And there's a radar installation on Shemya called the Cobra Dane. The Cobra Dane faces Russia. And every time the Cobra Dane would detect a nuclear missile being fired out of Russia to the Kuril Islands or one of the testing ranges, our job would be we would know the information ahead of time, and we would take off of the airplane, fly in orbit until we know the missiles are coming in. The missiles start coming in, we would fly down the coastline of Russia, but not in their airspace. And once the missiles were going by us, we'd take all the telemetry shots. We had the guys in the back of the airplane were called EWOs, electronic warfare officers, and we had Russian linguists. And so what we do, they would tell me, John says, the missiles will be coming by any time. And we'd have all cameras the right side of the airplane, the right side of the airplane, the wing was black. So we wouldn't get any discoloration or anything from the filming. And we would film all this stuff. And our EWOs would do all electronic, whatever they did, imaging and all that kind of stuff. And then I had the linguists back there listening to the Russian fighter bases and letting me know what they're doing. If they were going to launch and come after us, they would let me know. So we'd get all the information and then we'd go back home. Sometimes I'd be up there for 15, 20 hours because it was never waiting for a launch to happen. And if I was up there that long, they'd call a tanker. I'd have to leave my orbit near the Russian coastline, hit the tanker, refuel, go back in orbit. And wait.
Refuel on the ground or the tanker?
No, in the air.
And then what's the altitude you were hitting?
We usually refuel between 25 and 30,000 feet.
And you're in your Hawaiian shorts.
Well, yeah, but you know what? We're supposed to put our flight suits on, and I'll never forget one mission we never did. And when we refuel, the boom operator is in the back of the tanker, the fuel tanker, and he has a big boom, and he just he could fly behind his airplane, the boom. So I pull up under the tanker, I'd open my fuel doors, and he would stick us with a boom, And once he saw us like this, and he reported to his commander, said, "Well, I don't know what those guys are. They didn't have any Air Force uniforms on," That when that happened, our commander went nuts. Guys, you got to put your flight suits on, So that happened once. Once was enough.
So there's a lot there, John. I gotta stop you just because I got like 4,000 or 5,000 questions, and I don't want to forget all of them. But let's work backwards. They were concerned that you didn't have uniforms on, but you had a U.S. plane. I mean, who else would you have been?
Well, you know how people are. You know what? We didn't have a flight suit on, but that only happened in one mission. But I'll never forget that. It happened one mission. Maybe the guy was impressed we didn't have them on. Maybe he thought it was CIA's flying Air Force planes. I don't know. But the thing is, I did that for 2.5 years out of the Aleutian Islands, and every time I'd go back, to land in Shemya, we had a dump fuel a lot of times because a lot of times we get airborne. Nothing would happen. I had full fuel tanks. We couldn't land. Our growth rate was too high. So I would be dumping fuel right over the ocean so I could land in Shemya. But every time I did that, most of the time I flew over the island of Kiska or Attu or Agatu. There were 3 islands next to us. We had Kiska next to us, we had Attu next to us, and we had Agatu next to us. You probably know those islands and you've been the Aleutians. And every time I'd love to read about World War II, the Aleutian Islands, the Battle of the Aleutian Islands in World War II, the Japanese occupied Attu and they occupied Kiska. And I said, someday I'm going to go to Kiska because you just can't go to Kiska. At one time, you couldn't go there at all. And then they opened it up. But you only can get there by boat or there's no airport there. So I guess if you get a small plane with tundra tires, you can land. But usually it's by boat.
That was Jon Bisson, pilot and adventurer. If you'd like to learn more about John or anything else we do at 10 Minute Travels, please visit 10minutetravels.com. And please like, subscribe, and share this podcast on all the platforms.
And we want to remind you to make sure your sense of humor matches your sense of adventure.
Did we do it like Willie Nelson, one take?
Did it. Aye, aye.